Hey guys, welcome to episode 1 of Craig's Dungeon. Talked about this in some other videos, and some of you guys have shown an interest in it, so it's a new series here on my channel. I want to talk to you about this dungeon during this episode and introduce you to the dungeon a little bit more. And I also want to show you some footage and talk a little bit about some of the other dungeons that I've lived in over the years and how it got the name The Dungeon. So let's get started. I actually grew up in a basement. When I was a young child, my parents, all we had was a 2-bedroom house, and there was 5 of us. So us 3 kids basically were sleeping in one room. And so instead of upgrading to a new house, my dad decided to build a room down in the basement for my brother and I to sleep when we were kids. We slept in the same room for very many years, and then later on, my dad built another room for my brother when we got a little bit older so we could have our privacy. And, I spent a lot of time down here. You can see there me recording some of my music. There's my little recording studio there. I don't have a heck of a lot of footage of this, but of this room, but that is the room that I slept in from age 5 or maybe even age 4 all the way up to age 15, 16 years old, until I moved into the other room when my brother moved out. And that way I could have 2 rooms. I could have one room for a bedroom, which was this room here, and the other room, of course, for all of my recording and electronic stuff. And of course, this part of the basement here, this is just the laundry area. And then in here, this little hidden room is the workroom where I used to take things apart and fix things and learn all about electronics and all that kind of thing. Me and my buddy used to go down there and build radios and build electronics things and fix things and tinker, and it was really, really cool. While my brother and sister spent a lot of time out and about, socializing outdoors, I spent a lot of time with, my friends down in this basement. And I know people talk about, basement dwellers and, you living in your parents' basement. You know what? I wasn't really much into sports when I was young. I used to go out and socialize, but I really enjoyed my time downstairs when I used to be able to, learn about stuff, take things apart, have privacy, watch television, make music. In fact, my first batch of beer was brewed in this very basement. So, yeah, it was cool. When I first moved out of my parents' home into my first apartment, guess where that apartment was? In a basement. It was a basement apartment. It was a 2-room, sort of a bachelor pad in the basement of a house a few blocks away from where I lived growing up. And, this was my first apartment in a basement, and it was really cool. I liked it. I just like the fact that it's underground. I don't have this weird obsession about, basements. Even when, we drive around the city and I see old Victorian houses, downtown, we drive by and I'm fascinated with what's it like in the basement. That's where the bowels of the house, are. That's where the heating system usually is. That's where the pipes and the wires and all that stuff is down in there. And that's where people store things. And there's so much history and spider webs and everything in these old basements. And, the walls are made of stone. And it's really cool to explore some of these old houses and what the basements are like. I moved into another apartment. And guess where it was? Say it with me. In a basement. This was when I moved in with my first wife. Her dad gave up his rec room basically, and we built a basement apartment down there. We built a kitchen. We built an entire kitchen from his back room. We bought a fridge and stove from our previous landlord. We wired it all up, electrical, put a counter in and a sink, and it was a really, really nice place to live for a while. And again, I liked the fact that it was in the basement. It was really cool. And besides, it's really cool down there in the summertime too. And a little bit chilly in the winter, but we had a fireplace. So from there, I I moved into an apartment with my now wife, and in the apartment building there was a basement, and the superintendent used to let me repair my VCRs down there. So I spent a lot of time down in the basement of the apartment building fixing VCRs. I did that quite a lot. And then finally, after a few years, when I moved into this place, I was really, really thrilled that there was a basement, because I just knew that I would feel right at home. And you can see how empty it was back then, of course. And now it's pretty tight down here. I mean, I do a lot of work down here. I do all my video editing. I've recorded music down here. I sing down here. I play my records, listen to music. I brew down here. I brew beer and wine. And I do all of my repairs down here. And one of the things that I like about it, it's one of the places in the house where I don't have to worry too much about keeping it absolutely spotless. One of the things you're going to see when you watch these dungeon videos is that it's not always perfect. It's not always absolutely spotless. There might be a plate or a bowl or a cup down here. Maybe I got a few beer glasses that aren't cleaned out yet. Maybe maybe it needs to be vacuumed once in a while. It's not perfect. There might even be a few cobwebs around. Who knows? Good for fruit flies, though. That just means that I don't have to worry about it. Nobody has to walk through here when they come in and visit. They don't have to walk through the basement to get to the bathroom or anywhere else in the house. It's mine. It's my place, and it can be messy, it can be tidy, it can be whatever I want it to be. You know, we call it the dungeon, and that name actually has a reason. The reason it's called the dungeon is when I first moved in here, I started noticing that there was a problem with part of the cement on the wall. You've probably seen, if you've watched my other videos on my channel, you might have seen me put up a pegboard so I can hang up stuff. It's actually right behind me here. Behind that pegboard, before I put the pegboard up, I had a green screen there. A green screen used for making videos, doing chroma key, but I never used the green screen because it was kind of a pain. It was hard to get it lit properly, and it was really hard to make it work. But I left it up there because that wall has a problem. Behind that pegboard, there's the paint is chipping off of the wall, and it falls off, and it looks terrible. And so I tried to rub it all off and repaint over it, and it just kept happening. There's moisture. Somehow there's moisture coming through. The paint will not stay on the wall. And years ago when I used to shoot videos, I shoot quite a lot of videos actually against this back wall, people used to criticize and say, why don't you paint your basement? Why don't you fix up your wall? Why don't you, you look like you live in a dungeon. Well, that's where the word dungeon came from. Because I thought, you know what? I can't paint it. It keeps happening. I'm over and over painting it every few months. So what the hell? Why don't we just call it a dungeon? There you go. Now I had an excuse. Now, of course, I've since covered that up, but the word dungeon stuck. And you can actually see over here, somebody made me a sign, which I haven't really found a place for yet, but that's where it is for now. Craig's Brew Dungeon. So it is a place where all the people on my YouTube channel have seen, and it's a wonderful place. It's a great place to hang out. It's quiet. It's a great place to listen to music. And sometimes I even crash down here. And if it's too late my wife's already asleep, I don't want to go wake her up. Certainly, I've got a couch down here, and it's a great place to curl up and just crash out for a while. So, that's the story behind the dungeons. And I think I will always admire basements. I think that, whenever I go to somebody's house, the funny thing is, I always ask them if I can go check out the basement. It's crazy. It's a crazy thing, Because I do so many things down here, that's where me and a buddy sort of got the idea of, why don't you make a series of all the little things you do? I've got boxes full of wires. I've got drawers full of parts. I've got things that need repairing. I'm transferring video over to my computer, There's so many little things that I can be doing that maybe some of you would be interested in seeing. So that is the whole premise behind the Craig's Dungeon series. And of course, one of the main things I do down here, which most of you probably know about, is I I brew beer and I brew wine as well. There's been a few people who have visited me over the years who have come down here and been amazed at, you know, how different it looks on video than it actually is. But hey, I'm very comfortable down here, and it's my space, and I'm very lucky to have a man cave like this. As I said, it doesn't have to be spotless. I can have it cluttered, I can have it clean, I can have it any way I want, and nobody complains. Yes, we'll see you back here real soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Cheers. See ya.